Hey guys, Daniel Master 87 here, and today I'm gonna talk about something that needs to be said, and it is that the forums for this game are bad for the health of the game. And I've got a lot of explaining to do to back up that statement, but you'll believe me once it's all said and done. As some people claim that they've left the game, you always see those YouTube comments and stuff like that saying, well, I'm glad I stopped playing this trash game. I've stopped playing a year ago, or I stopped playing 6 months ago, or something like that. What they really need to be doing is leaving the forums, if not both of those things. So for those of you who don't know, the forums are a waste of time for people who want to see positive change in the game. It's supposed to be a place where you're supposed to, well, there's several sections, like posting suggestions, talking about lore, talking about bugs and stuff like that. But mostly people go there for discussion about balance and new stuff to the game and reminiscing about old stuff and all kinds of stuff like that. And the devs, they obviously look at it sometimes, except that the devs, they use them as confirmation bias, because they'll see, oh, people are saying that this killer is too strong, and so we've also played with the killer and we think it's too strong, so we're gonna go ahead and nerf them, even though there's some really good arguments against them that we are selectively ignoring. That's what they do. And then when there's tons of people saying, oh, there's this OP survivor thing in the game, or this thing that has a negative effect on killer that's a bug or something, they even make fun, like, when do you think the devs are going to fix this? 6 months from now or something like that? The devs just completely ignore the freaking problems, like, a lot of the time. Like, you bring up tiles being too strong, stuff like that. They never hear it. A majority of what gets said on the forum are bad takes. A minority of them are good takes. Because there's all these people saying that stuff's OP or stuff's slept on, and they're just like in a completely different world, the way they talk about things. And one of the things that sticks out the most to me is everyone freaking overrates all of the weak killers. Like this killer right here, Freddy. Because he's like the #1 person who back in the day people would say is OP. And then he got that massive nerf which made him completely not playable. And they say all kinds of killers are OP which are not. They say, not even saying that they're OP, some of them, but just like, this killer's viable, this killer does fine. And it's like, no. Against any competent team, like 90% of these freaking killers lose. Because people are saying, Hillbilly's viable, Wraith's viable, Huntress can beat any team, Hag can beat any team, the Doctor's annoying and kinda OP, how his ability works. Clown is very decent and slept on. Pig gets free kills from her ability. Spirit's still OP. Legion's OP. Plague's annoying to face or whatever. Ghostface, I've even said someone say that he's OP. Deathslinger is still decent. He just takes a lot of skill. Oni's like A tier, S tier or something. Nemesis is viable. This killer's viable. This killer's alright in any scenario. This killer's viable. This killer's OP. This killer's OP. This killer's OP. That's crazy. Oh, how did that happen? It's plugged in. Uh, and there's always these claims that killers always get buffed, survivors always get nerfed, and that the game is killer-sided. They're talking about, oftentimes they're talking about the removal of infinites and the introduction of entity blocker and boarding up a bunch of the windows and adding bloodlust and all that stuff, which sure it's in favor of killers, but it was like necessary changes that needed to be made to the game. It's not like it's a buff to killer, it's a freaking quality of life change for the game. You can't just class that as a survivor nerf because you feel like it, because survivors used to abuse some crazy OP crap that shouldn't have been in the game in the first place. You know what a survivor nerf would be? Freaking making undetectable Trump spine chill, which is what I see a lot of very biased killer mains doing. That's the only example I can think of, but the survivor nerfs they constantly talk about either don't apply because they're just game health changes, like entity blocker, so survivor can't loop a killer out a window forever, or they just say that blatantly OP things were not OP, like let's bring back insta-heals, let's bring back old Metal of Man, which just gave you like additional health states whenever you wanted. Old DS, stuff like that. They say that their perks have already been nerfed multiple times, so they don't need to be nerfed again. I mean, look at Circle of Healing to show that that's wrong. Killer's always getting buffed. Yeah, no crap. Because Killer started not even at like 0 when the game started out. They started out in the freaking negative. Like Wraith having to stand still to uncloak, Trapper, Trapper being considered viable back then actually because all of the survivors were bad. You would never hear people talking about him that way these days, but that's the perspective people are coming from, that like every killer is a threat even when these blatantly OP things like fast vaulting from any angle were in the game. And it's absolutely not true, but they act like it is. So yeah, game's killer-sided because killers are getting buffs all the time. Could that be because they have a ton of catching up to do to actually be on an even playing field with survivors? Because they clearly aren't right now? Might be the case, might be. These people clearly don't play the game at a high level. Or they're deluded. They have no clue about balance. As I said, by going through all those killers just a minute ago. Like, people who say Wraith was uncounterable and still is bullcrap and uncounterable. What level are you playing at, man? I mean, he's an M1 killer who, on top of that, can't even attack you while he's in his fast cloak mode. And he slows down so much coming out of it that it negates the speed up. Because yeah, he can get across the map really fast, but can he down you? He shouldn't be. Not even unless he's doing crazy mind games, because you know what you can do against killer mind games? You can not fall for them. Just stand at a certain spot at a loop where you can see the killer coming either way, and you're good. And with Wraith, I've said so many times what his counterplay is, and people wouldn't listen. That's why I got off the forums and stopped talking about it, because I explained it 1,000 times and they wouldn't listen. Because I'm literally like, you can drop the pallet early, he can't do anything. If he tries to break it fast through baiting that he's going to uncloak, you drop it and then he breaks it, then you can actually call his bluff on that and not drop it, and then you'll actually drop it the second time, and from that point onward you're in his head making him guess. Because if you call his bluff and he actually does uncloak and hit you, which he probably still shouldn't because you can react, it's just, there's so many things about these killers that people are saying are uncounterable, which are totally counterable. Even people saying Clown is uncounterable if he uses 2 purple bottles and 1 yellow bottle at a loop. Yes, but think about the resource drain and think about how many hours the freaking killer has to put in just to have a chance of getting you in that scenario. And they don't play at a high level of Survivor either, because they just go down in like 10 seconds sometimes, but they get so used to winning purely because of the gen speed that they think they're high level. And so when a killer actually does down them quick enough, because they're giving out free downs like nothing, and then the killer has pop and ruin or some combination of crap like that, then they're like, killer must be OP, when it's their lack of skill, clearly. But yeah, when I was on the forums putting out ideas left and right, which were totally unbiased, I mean, I do view things from a killer-centric point of view, but I don't think some of the things I'm saying are biased, because I have people agreeing with me, like Hatch shouldn't give a free escape, or Deathslinger shouldn't have been nerfed, or Wraith shouldn't have been nerfed. I get agreements on all of those, even though I get a lot of pushback. But it would be from like one-word refutes to whatever I was saying, like get good or LMAO or something like that, to people writing entire essays about how I'm wrong on every single sentence I said, which is literally impossible. Like, I have so much experience in this freaking game. Do you know the likelihood of me being wrong on every single thing I said in my own essay, which you're now critiquing with your own essay about? It's just impossible. Because you can write something that's very well thought out, very well worded, and they'll say that your ideas are simplistic or they're a bad take or whatever, which clearly isn't the truth. The suggestions tab of the forums are fun, but they're never implemented. I mean, I've seen a very good idea recently for if they were to put the thing in the game as a chapter, and people are saying this idea is never going to happen because the developers don't like the idea, just like with Legion, of putting a killer in the game that can be disguised as the survivors or whatever. And it's like, that's not necessarily what that killer calls for, because there was some guy who put out an interesting idea with like the blood test thing, where like if it was the thing's blood you were carrying, then you would take damage or whatever, and it would alert him to where you were, something like that. But there's been a ton of like cool and unique killer suggestions, perk suggestions, how to rework maps in the game, stuff like that. They always get ignored. It's like the tab is just there for fun, because none of that is going to get implemented. And can I just say, there are some very fake and two-faced people on these forums. Like, I've typed some stuff out, and it's very sound logically, and people would never come to my defense. I'd get like some guy with 10 posts or something here or there, like 2 to 3 comments of people like that saying, I agree with this idea, you're right, or whatever. And then on the other side of the coin, a mob of people saying, LMAO, get good, you're bad at the game if you think this. Those essays saying, well, actually, blah blah blah. Like I haven't thought anything out, as if I just typed it and went there. I say that they're two-faced people, and that they're super, like, I don't know what their deal was with me, because I'd be posting all these things which cared about the game's health and killers and stuff like that, And then, as I said, no one would seemingly be agreeing with me at all. And now that I've left the forums, like, I go on there to look at comments, like stuff, all that, but I never post anything myself anymore. Now that I'm essentially gone from there, like, they could not even know that I'm on there anymore looking at anything. They're posting stuff that I've said in the past, and they get resounding applause. Like I say, Deathslinger nerf was stupid, he should go back to his old self. There you go. And people would say that I was wrong, and I see, like, the other day, or last night or something, Deathslinger nerf was too much. He needs to be reverted just like how he was, and people were like, yeah, the nerf was too much. Yes, this was overbearing. Yes, he should go back to his old version because he wasn't OP. Like, almost word for word quoting me, even though I was saying the obvious. Where were these people congratulating these people on saying something that was truthful when before they were like ghosts and didn't say anything? I'm pushing on that a little hard, but I almost feel personally attacked or just ignored because I'm seeing that so much. Like, I could find a Freddy post that was like, Freddy nerf was too much, just revert his nerfs, instead of all these people making suggestions on how to buff them, and people would be like, yes, that's the best way to do it. I said that too, but, you know, at the end of the day, even though, whether it's my post or some other people's posts, trying to say that you should buff the killer this way or undo this nerf, nothing will come of it because the devs just don't listen. They have very, very selective memory and selective confirmation bias. The whole thing with, like, the mods banning you and because you said something on there that was offensive or whatever is like the fakest virtue signaling crap, man. Because you could say that something is cancer or something is AIDS, and we all know, since we've been on the internet for a while, that that is simply slang for, like, something is bad and has got to go. We're not talking like we're making light of those things, but they say you can't say that because you're making light of a serious issue. And so if you accidentally say one of those things, or you simply say that someone is stupid because they said something stupid, then they're like, hey, that's too much. You're gonna get a 1-day ban, and then a month ban, and then a permanent ban, or whatever. The mods and the devs are also very pro LGBT and take down any posts questioning anything related to it, even if you're not, like, saying they're going to hell or anything like that. No, just simply saying, I don't like how BHVR went about changing David, who was formerly a straight character, into a gay character or something like that. It's a very fair opinion because it could have been handled better, and he wasn't that good of a candidate for them to shoehorn their agenda into. But your post or comment or whatever would probably get taken down for saying that, and you would probably be banned or something like that. I just don't think that's very fair. Also, they don't know what they want the identity of their game to be. They have no idea. And a lot of that stems from introducing Trickster, who people just don't like his whole vibe or whatever, because they say that all these other killers before him were grungy and had like an industrial feel to them or whatever. I don't quite agree with that. They say that they're tired of licensed characters getting into the game. They want more originals. Other people will say they want licensed characters more than the originals. Some of them are mad at, like, the twins, for example, for encouraging a slugging playstyle instead of a hooking playstyle, or Pinhead for giving a second objective, or something like that. Because they're always complaining about stuff that, like, fundamentally, in some small way or large way, changes the game. But yeah, the community doesn't know what they want the game's identity to be. They don't know, the devs don't know either, and so they're taking inspiration from people who don't know their own identity, I guess is how they're going about it. People want the game to be in their image, pretty much. Mostly survivor mains. I mean, they'll say something absolutely radical like, if killers will end up getting dead hard nerfed, then they'll just go after the next thing, sprint burst, or whatever, and then they'll go after live and balanced or whatever, and it's like, whoa, you're getting a little too ahead of yourself, that's not gonna happen. And they're framing that as killers tailoring the game to their playstyle. Also, like True's stuff that he says sometimes, like, an in-game chase would be better for an in-game mechanic instead of hatch, or scourge hooks on every hook would be balanced. People say, you're shaping the game to you having fun and not the survivors or whatever, but then these same people will be like, revert the key nerf, I want to get my whole team out the hatch, and you should make a exhaustion buffing perk, or you should revert the circle of healing nerf, and you should take away entity blocker and take away bloodlust because it's more fair and more fun for us. Like, it's the biggest hypocritical crap you've ever seen. And people will label you as sluzzy and biased when they themselves are the most biased. Because if you don't know, Sluzzy is kind of an icon on the DBD forums, where he posts such survivor-sided crap like Wraith being uncounterable and New Haddonfield being a killer-sided map, and Huntress's hitbox being bullcrap and her being S tier and broken, and just all this stuff. People have pretty much recognized it as a troll account or something like that, like not even a real person's thoughts and beliefs, just there to like bait and get a reaction out of people and stuff like that. So they'll take that, they'll take Sluzzy's name and call you, oh, you're like the killer Sluzzy, you're just another Sluzzy, a Sluzzy alternate account. And that's a very dangerous idea they're doing there, because it's attacking your character and attacking your competency or your realness, and just being super dismissive with you by saying that you're like Sluzzy. And they do it all the time. I do not regret leaving these freaking forums for a second, and I recommend that everyone else follows my lead. Or not my lead, I'm sure other people have left the forums, they just haven't said anything about it or made a video like I have. But no good comes from that freaking site. You'll just get triggered seeing all the bad takes, and if you try to reply against it, then you're gonna get freaking a bombardment of hate mail in the form of those responses to you. We can suggest ideas to improve the game through our videos and our streams and all that stuff that people like us do, but never are we going to be able to do those things there on the forums. It's just, that's not the place for it. This is Daniel Master 87 signing out.